can't see him yet.
He has a picture.
Hold on.
Oh,
That's savage. I like that.
Wow. There he is.
Sorry, I just turned down my music here.
Yeah, turn down your rap music, whatever you're listening to there.
Sorry. Hey, let me just pull this up here.
There he is.
I'm wearing my eyebrows. I feel a little overdressed.
Yeah. We need to get those things out of here.
Yeah, I wish I didn't really. You were really clear on the invite, but all right. Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
No eyebrow zone.
No, we're eyebrow neutral.
Yeah,
that's what we are.
Yeah, well, I'm bringing it hard.
Yeah, I love it. Well, welcome, Michael Cassone, my cousin from Connecticut. I won't say where because that's creepy, but Mike, were you able to hear? Were you able to hear anything before you came on? I'm not sure how this works.
No, I was totally in the dark, man.
Oh, we were talking terrible things.
We talked some mad trash about you, first of all.
That's a good thing.
Sweet.
Sweet.
No, I was just mentioning that, we have a large family on our mother's side. Both of our mothers are cousins. And so now are we second cousins then, Mike? How does that work?
Yeah, we're second cousins.
We're second cousins. So, okay.
Well, actually, wait a minute. So
my
mom's first cousin.
Yeah.
Which would make her progeny second cousins.
Yeah. Yep. We are. And we look like we're brothers. So it's
look at that quick genealogy right there.
Right.
But I wanted to mention, we don't get to see each other too often in person. And what's really nice about social media in general and Facebook is I get to keep up with you and your family. You have 2 daughters now and you have a beautiful wife, Antonetta. So it's really fun.
Beautiful.
But I wanted to say, it's great that we can keep in touch with that. There she is. Hey. Hi guys.
Hello.
So I was just saying this, with what's going on in the world right now, obviously every time you pull up social media, you're getting all kinds of craziness going on. But I like the fact that I keep my social media active, that we can keep in touch with each other. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's sort of becoming this media where if people were a little annoyed by it in the beginning or poo-pooed it or just didn't have time for it, they're kind of beginning to find new value in that. I sent my dad a video text the other day just to try it out, and he's like, "Whoa, this is crazy."
Yeah.
I'm like, Dad, I'm from the future, but
my parents just got. Oh, good.
Yeah, it's encouraging to see people use it for any kind of positive communication, touching base, rather than just using it for a headline generator,
Right, absolutely. And with what's going on, obviously being a school teacher, we wanted to ask you your take on how it's been teaching classes virtually since school's been closed with the coronavirus since, what was it, March, I think?
Yep.
So,
yeah, for me it was it started when I walked out of the building. It was Thursday, March 13th.
Wow.
And everybody was like, "Oh, I'll see you tomorrow." I'm like, So yeah. I remember just taking all my stuff because I just had a gut feeling we'd be back later, or if never. So so to put it simply, I don't think a lot of schools were completely ready for total distance learning. Some school districts were, because that's what they do during snow days, so they don't lose any days.
Right.
Makes sense.
So our district, I would say from March 14th until April 1st, literally developed an entire system, a hierarchy, all the infrastructure they needed for distance learning in 2 weeks. And that included training and everything. So it was really, really cool to see that there was total buy-in from the staff, the support staff, everybody.
Yeah.
Was it a weird transition at first, to have a workspace and to carve out, time?
Yeah, it's still weird, to be honest. it started, I brought up my wife's computer monitors for work. And then I realized that my office downstairs, which is the kids' playroom, was going to have to move up here too. So we've been sitting at the end of the table for a couple months now. And it's just everything happens at this table. We eat here, we work here, we do homework here. Yeah, I think you either adapt or you go nuts. Is
Right.
what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's and I really give a lot of credit to, we have a lot of teachers actually in our family, and just talking to them and hearing about their experiences. They said the same thing. They just like, you kind of just were forced to figure it out and do the best you can with it. And I feel like, you know, it's such a crazy, especially when you say they weren't prepared. Well, it's like, I don't think anyone was prepared for any of this.
Right, and I think a lot of districts, they kind of made peace with that fact. They're like, hey, you know, this was something that we were always going to do down the road when we had time or if we had some extra budget money. But once there was really, really signs that this could be long-term, all the administration mobilized and got it together. I think in the beginning, the first 2 weeks of what we were doing, all the teachers weren't really sure how much to give, how much work.
Right.
What was the rigor? And within about 2 weeks, we kind of got some guidance from the administrators saying, hey, don't forget, the kids' health and well-being and mental health kind of come first.
Right.
This isn't really the same thing as school, so let's adjust it so the kids have a couple days to flesh out their assignments rather than something due every day at midnight, which is, I mean, how are we to know, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, both my parents are educators in New Hampshire, and I would say for the first 2 weeks, I can vouch for, you know, for that fact of like kind of just floating in the wind, like trying things out. If it works, it works. You know, if it doesn't, then move to a different, you know, style of giving homework or educating. I mean, it's a learning process as you go.
And
you
I
know,
think there's no unified model. So let's say I'm the freshman science teacher, you know, the junior physics teacher was doing it a different way. So the kids their heads were spinning.
Yeah.
But I think the number one thing that I've noticed from this whole thing is that at the end of the day, it's taught a lot of teachers the importance of like compassion.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a time and a place to be a real stickler and say, hey, it was due by 11:59 p.m. And that isn't working now.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to keep an open mind that, look, there's a lot of other moving parts to their lives. They're watching siblings, they're working, they're bringing money home to their family. Just, you know, don't ask them to bend the knee on every assignment, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. And you teach science, right?
Yep.
Now, is there anything, both Matt and I are huge fans of science, especially you can see Matt looks like he's been like cooking up potions and stuff in his.
If you guys had said like history, I was just going to turn off my camera and log off.
But
my dad's a science teacher as well, so I'm
good,
fully into it.
Has there been any, not to change the subject, but I mean, has there been anything in the world of science that has come up in the past few months that has been a new thing that you've been teaching, or anything that it's notable that we could share with our listeners?
As far as like new, like current events kind of stuff, I've really kind of, first of all, I've avoided any kind of lessons surrounding the coronavirus. It's just sort of like, you know, it's like doing a book report on your, you know, school bully. You know?
Right.
I don't really have anything that like pops up. Like if something interesting comes up, like on a video feed, like I'll throw it into my classroom. But I think one of them was I found footage of an Air Force base out in, I want to say California. They were trying out different high-speed engines, and this was a Mach 8.1 sled. You know,
wow.
So you're watching it at like full speed on your screen. You're like, when is it going to happen? It already happened. So.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm into stuff like that. Little 5-minute, you know, videos like that.
It kind of reminds me of that guy Bob Lazar that was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was like that UFO guy, but he made a car out of like a jet engine.
Yeah, he put a jet engine on a car.
Yeah, and it worked, and it was like, I don't know if it was street legal, probably not, but But
that
that's
does
how.
remind me, if you guys have, a chance, there's a video of a car that's powered under steam. Just like, no, not like steam, like a caboose, but just like if you shook a seltzer bottle and just opened the top, just
Wow.
pressurized water. The thing just rips.
That's awesome.
That's sick.
It's kind of like when you take Mentos and drop it in a Coke. Right?
My daughter keeps asking for that. Emma keeps asking, but I'm like, oh, I forgot both ingredients again. Oh.
I'll remember next time.
Yeah,
that's
We're almost
great.
there.
Well, speaking of your kids too, like I know, as both Matt and I don't have kids, so our perspective on this all the stuff that's happening in the world right now, we don't really have to then go and explain it to someone that doesn't understand what's going on. So I don't know if that's come up with you guys. Like, have you guys talked about how to explain this to your kids, what's happening, or can you touch on that at all?
So for my students, we actually, as teachers, I'll talk about my students, then I'll talk about my daughters.
Yeah.
When stuff like this happens, we kind of wait for direction from administrators. Usually the school district will issue a statement on like racial injustice, for example.
Yeah.
And it kind of puts us all under the same umbrella of, in terms of like the character of the employees under this district. I don't want to say they do the talking for us, but we really want to limit our personal views. And this is the kind of thing where if we wanted to have a conversation with our students, we'd probably do it in a big assembly.
Right.
Sorry.
Seraphina's
already going to talk.
you want to have consistent messaging across the board. You don't want, one teacher in this class saying one thing and then you can have your own opinions, but you want that messaging to be consistent, I'd imagine.
And I think with something like this, like a public school, the teachers, whether you teach math or science or English, I know my district would usually say, listen, this is going to come up in conversation. While we don't want it to override your lessons, please encourage constructive conversation, or direct them to these resources. But for Emma, my daughter, we were talking Wednesday about it. I was watching a video on the computer and she asked what's going on. And I kind of explained, I said, look, people in America are very upset about something that happened. We explained that, the way that he was treated had nothing to do with what he did wrong. It was sort of a human decision from one person to another. And we did explain that the country feels very upset because it happens a lot to people of color. And I said, unfortunately, he did die. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, he died from injuries that he probably got from a police officer that didn't follow the way that he was taught.
Right. And was surrounded by negligent, people that.
Yes. And I actually showed her a shorter clip of the video.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, who took this video? I said, another person.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why didn't she help?
I said, just so sharp, picking up on things, man.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, okay, I agree with you there, Emma. I said, but she was making sure. I said, in a way, she was helping. Yeah, I don't know. I said, look, yeah, I'm sure she could have put the camera down. But I said she felt strongly about it. And she wanted the rest of the world to see that this happened before, the other side of the story got told.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But she did see that the other officers were like this. And she's like, well, why aren't they helping? And that's what I think kids need to know, is that the whole Mr. Rogers lesson is that, when things go down, look for the helpers, look for the firemen, the firefighters. We teach that to our kids, but then we release them into the world where,
right.
they're fearful,
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, it hurts a lot. I said, because that's not how we would treat people. And that's not, that's not how daddy would want to be treated if he was arrested. Or I said, there's just so many feelings that come up. And I said, so I showed her some clips of the rioting. She's like, why are people doing this? I said, they're angry, they're frustrated. And I said, but sometimes people are doing things like this because they're overly excited.
Yeah.
I said, they're not, they've kind of, just like that police officer lost control, they're losing control too. And now they're just they don't know how to stop. It's just the thrill of it. And she's like, well, that's wrong. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's just a bigger universe to this whole thing that I hope, you know, she understands that it's really never going to be the same kind of world for her,
Right.
than somebody else. And
That's
really
great, Mike. That's
yeah.
It's great that you're just, you know, just very straight to the point and honest too about what's going on, because it's tough. I'm sure it's like you don't want to reveal so much, that you want to be very tactical and careful about how you explain it.
Yep.
And that was incredible. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And then definitely wanted to touch base with you too on, I know you and your brothers are huge fishermen, or you have a big hobby with that with your dad. And I don't know if you,
angling,
yeah, so I don't know if you guys have been able to get together during all this, or got together beforehand, but if you could talk to us a little bit how that became a thing with you guys, because I always see pictures of you guys fishing and holding up these huge fish, and I'm like, I need to go out there and get one of those.
Yeah.
But how did that start with you guys?
Okay, so my dad, when he was a kid, always fished with his best friends. His uncles and grandfather would take him fishing to Niantic, Connecticut, which is really not that far from where, like, you know, where a lot of the best, you know, fishing happens on sort of that end. When he moved to Branford, he met a local, kind of an old salt, took him under his wing, filled in the rest of the gaps, and he lived by the sea, and it was his favorite thing to do. So
yeah,
naturally he wanted to spend time with his kids, but also not sacrifice his passion. So I think we'll bring him along.
Yeah.
And whether we wanted to or not, it became something that we just love to do. It's how we spent a lot of time together, and still is to a degree, but we're all busy, and it's not all four of us anymore, but it's
right.
one guy on one weekend, one guy on another. But yeah, it's just part of my fabric now.
Yeah, I know.
What do you fish for? You out there on the ocean or in the rivers?
Yep, we live right off of Long Island Sound. So in the summertime, in the fall, we're out fishing the Sound for striped bass, bluefish,
nice.
blackfish, and then in the springtime, in the summer, we do lakes and streams for trout, bass.
I was gonna say, yeah, my dad's up in New Hampshire, and he's constantly texting me. You talking about video messages? He sends me pictures just about every weekend of all the brookies that he's caught and the trout and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, man, that's awesome.
It's fun, and you know, I brought Emma a few times, and you know, she likes it, but I'm not grooming her. You know, things she like. For me, it just sort of like it was like one pass with the brush. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do this every day.
I always get so unlucky with it. Like, you know, I've gone on a couple of private charters, and actually, Matt, I don't know if he remembers this, but we used to work at the same place, like an office, and there was like this team outing that I had to like organize. So I organized in the summertime this charter out of Gloucester, and it was going to be like, you know, deep sea fishing and for 4 hours or something like that. And for some reason, like there was something, I think my phone died that day, and the guy was trying to call me, telling me like, hey, there's like 10-foot swells. Like, it's not a good idea to go out. And everyone looked to me to make the decision. And I was like, well, I mean, we've paid the money. This is the only weekend we can go. Like, let's just go out and see what happens. And like, we get out there, and it is 10-foot swells. But being like it was probably 9 of us, maybe 5 guys, 4 girls. All the guys are on the side of the boat, like, this is great. We're pirates. And then maybe like half an hour later, all of us are puking off the side of the boat, and we had to turn around and come back in. We didn't even put a hook in the water. So it was just like,
you know what though? I mean, I think if you're gonna do something new and different, like, you got to go all in.
You got to go for it, right? Yeah.
Because if it was really that bad, the captain would have been like, I got to stop you right there.
Yeah. No, he let us go out, and he. I wish the other people in my team felt the same way as you, because they were so pissed. but it was. I'll never forget that. It was so fun.
Yeah, I took one of my best friends out, but it was probably about 15 years ago. I took him to like my favorite trout river in Connecticut. It was like the illest spot. And I was like, you know, it's really challenging fishing. Have you never done this before? And I was like, getting ready. He's like, all right, I got one. I'm like, what? You know, just banging fish all morning. And I'm like, wow, he's like, I'm like, have you fished? He's like, no, never. I'm like, wow.
Beginner's luck right there. That always happens.
But you know, the irony of that is that he's like never gone fishing ever since. But
Right. Yeah, it's my dad too he has a very small passion with fishing, but we've gone out a bunch of times. And one time we were fishing off of Castle Island in Boston. It's like this one little nook where you can kind of get, you know, at high tide, you can get your stuff out there. And I took a picture of him fishing. It was like maybe like just at dusk, and I sent that picture off to a friend of mine to make a painting out of it, and I was able to give it to my dad for Christmas one year. And it's just like one of those things. I see it on the wall every once in a while, and it just like brings me right back. Gift. Yeah, it just brings me back to that time, that moment captured. So
that's funny that you mentioned that. I actually had Joe's wife Christy commission a painting for my dad for Father's Day.
Oh, you did?
Check this bad boy out.
Oh, no kidding.
How sick is that?
Look at that rainbow trout.
That's beautiful.
Awesome? Yeah, so the frame's getting delivered in about, I don't know, maybe an hour or two. And
that's awesome.
No way.
We did not plan that. That was not planned. I just want to say.
Yeah, that was good. Good transition.
About 5 years ago, my dad caught a trout of a lifetime. 5-pound trout. Like since he's been 9, he wanted this fish.
Wow.
Pulled it in. We took pictures. I'm like, Dad, let's go. Let's pack it in. He's like, what? Where are we going? I'm like, we're going about 30 minutes from here. We're going to get that fish like taxidermized.
Yeah.
He's like, really? I'm like, I don't even care what you say right now. We're all chipping in.
We're doing it.
So now it's like.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
That's great.
How long does that process take, taking a fish over to get it done like that?
So with what we did is we took pictures of it right away.
Yeah.
Packed it on ice, drove it there. It was about an hour after he caught it. It already started to fade, but they go off of the pictures. They go off of what a fish like that should look like.
Yeah.
And it's not, I would say it probably took them 3 months to do it.
Wow.
I think
That's
it's
so
like a couple $100, but it's all airbrushed and.
Yeah. And it's the actual fish.
No,
it isn't?
They mold it, or they have blanks that are about
that's
that.
Fascinating.
So what they do is they kind of they get all the dimensions of it, and then they create a mold.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Almost like a rendering of it. And then the old ones used to be real, and then they start to go funky and decay.
Yeah, I would imagine that, especially the fish.
Now these are all fiberglass blanks that are molded to that fish. And they airbrush it. So
that's wild.
That's awesome, man. Well,
that was the first thing my mom asked. She's like, "Is that going to stink up the house?"
Right. That's great. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on here, man. This has been incredible. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to touch base on with us, but like I told you before, we really wanted to get a teacher's perspective, and I really think you did that for us today. So I really thank you for doing it.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. Nice to meet you, man.
All right, take care. Good luck, guys, and enjoy.
Yeah, say hey to the fam for me.
Stay healthy.
Will do.
All right, take care, bud.
Later, man.
All right.
That was great.
That was awesome, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
It's the future.